Hey, what's going on, Teach Better fam? It's Chris here, and I am bringing you a bonus episode from last weekend's Admin Mastermind Rewind and live Q&A bi-weekly family check-in with Rae Hughart and Dave Schmittou. We hope you enjoy the awesome conversations and discussions that took place last weekend during this event, and we hope that you follow us in the future. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and Twitter for any of these events coming up at Teach Better Team. We hope you enjoy this episode and hope it brings a lot of positivity to start your week.
Dave, I think the best decision we ever made for 2021 is that we were going to start hanging out for the bi-weekly Sunday extravaganzas together. I just want you to know.
Agreed completely for so many reasons. Absolutely. I'm excited.
I know this will be different for you though, because usually throughout your week, I know you're live a bunch, but you're really known as like the fun brain break guy. And I hate to tell you, but Sundays, we like to stay on topic. We share a lot of value. We're not drinking. Are you okay with that setup? Should we change it?
I have to ask a point of clarity. Did you just say that what I do on Wednesdays doesn't have value? Is that kind of what you just said? I think that's what I heard.
No, see, you guys emphasize the value of taking a break on Wednesdays. Okay. And I just want to emphasize for you that while right now we're going to hang out and share a lot of positive energy, sometimes we talk shop. I know you guys don't even talk shop on Brain Break.
Yeah, I get my hand slapped whenever I try to go there. So I'm excited. And to be fair, maybe this will actually be better for me. The reason I can't talk shop really on Wednesday is because I'm hanging out with Jeff. Tonight, I'm hanging out with you. So I feel like we can talk as deep as we need to talk tonight. So let's do this. I'm excited.
I do too. I love that people are already jumping in the comments saying, hi, you guys are awesome. We're going to give shout outs to you in just a second. I will say, Dave, we sent an email out to our network this afternoon, just wishing everybody a wonderful weekend. And I did tell them we'd be doing some reflection during this time. And in my mind, as I was writing that, I was like, that's because I'm going to be live with Dave. And he always asks the hardest questions.
Well, I got to be honest, I've done quite a bit of it today as well. Probably not as much as you because you had a pretty intense day today. Which I want to hear about if we're allowed to talk about that. But yeah, this is going to be it's going to be a good conversation tonight for sure.
I think so too. Before we get into all the fun, I do just want to preface for everybody here that our Sunday check-ins, where we're going to recap the discussions going on in our very, very active admin mastermind, and also just be here to take questions and hopefully set the tone for your week. We don't really have much planned. This is truly a platform where we want you to help us facilitate this conversation and ask the questions that are still on your mind on a Sunday night so we can either support you in some way getting over those hurdles for the week. So feel free to post your questions, your love, your anything in the chat. This is fair game. Dave and I are here to help. I do want to give some shout outs to Kate, and I see that Nikki's here. We have Boss Lady Carrie, who is always somebody we're celebrating. Megan Wells is here. Megan, I want you to know that I did something today. I gave you a little shout out. I was thinking of you. You were in my head today, so we should talk. And then Carly's here. You got to hang out with Carly today.
More specifically, my 10-year-old little girl got to hang out with Carly today. It was so sweet and so adorable, so amazing. Carly made my little girl and two of her best friends smile from ear to ear for about an hour today. It was incredible. It was so good.
Carly is so sweet. For those of you who are listening, you don't know Carly. Could you imagine a cooler educator to get to have a video call with? I mean, truly, come on.
Right. No, seriously. Can I tell the story real quick? I know it's not really talking shop, but Carly Spina, it's all about making an impact and how much relationships matter and all of the things. So I have never met Carly Spina face to face. I still have never met you face to face, Rae. Completely blows mine. But I've never met Carly Spina face to face. But this summer, her and her daughter were doing a Facebook Live, just playing around with makeup that completely sucked my daughter in. She watched it and was mesmerized. On Friday, it was my daughter's birthday, and we're trying to figure out what to do in quarantine. And she said, is there any way I can do a makeup tutorial with that lady that I saw this summer? She was so nice and so sweet. And I was like, let me see what I can do. And I reached out to Carly. She's like, oh my gosh, I would love to do it. And she did a makeup tutorial for my daughter and her two best friends today. It was absolutely incredible. Blew my mind.
Oh my God. And you should know, I've met Carly numerous times. She actually works in the area that I grew up in. So occasionally you get to cross paths, not enough to be honest, but occasionally. And she's as legit in person as she is when you see her virtually. Like there are some people where you meet them in person, you're like, oh, you're a little different than I imagined. Carly might be different, but only in like the most amazing, bright and glittery way possible.
So good. It's just so good and so genuine. I mean, yeah. Seriously, love you too, Carly. It was incredible.
Love this. Yes, Megan, that was on my mind today for sure. I just want you to know that, Megan, you've started this green heart shenanigans. Like it will never, ever end ever. So I love this so much.
So Rae, what happened today that made you think about Megan Wells? What happened?
Yes. So guys, I got to film a TED Talk today, a TEDx talk. And it was a whirlwind. Like, I don't even know how to talk about it because I don't even know what would be interesting to all of you for me to share. So if you have something specific that you want to know about the TEDx, like, let me know. And I'd be happy to literally divulge every detail down to like waking up in the morning and getting coffee to like the week preparing, which I think I cried to Dave about for a while. But holy moly, can't believe it's filmed. And can't believe that was today. It was insane.
So there were other people that were presenting and sharing today as well. Did you know any of them ahead of time? Do you get to listen to any of them, or was it just you?
Yeah, so there were 9 speakers that are a part of this specific TEDx event, and we have gotten to meet, which was wonderful. And to be honest, a little moment that maybe all of you teachers can understand. So if you like level with me here. So I am doing a TEDx presentation, which was totally on my bucket list. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about education. I'm talking about being an impactful and inspirational educator. That's like the topic. I mean, I can get into the details, but as a teacher, I was like, I love my job, right? That's what you're screaming to the audience. And one of the speakers was a former student of mine.
Oh, wow.
And he was incredible. And I got to see her and like, oh my gosh, the poise and her demeanor. And she was somebody that when she was in my class, maybe 3-4 years ago, she carried herself in such a beautiful way that then to see her there, I had like a proud mama moment. I was like, oh my God, that's my kid. You know, it's so cool. So I was honored to be part of this event. I was honored to check this off the bucket list, but it actually was cooler that she did one. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me it does.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So can I share a little bit of my reflection today, because it kind of revolves around what you just said. Can I jump in on this? And this might be something that other people can comment on or ask their own questions. So I go for my long runs now on Sundays. Okay. And this morning when I was on my long run, I knew that you were getting ready to walk up on stage and do all the things. And we talked earlier in the week, and you made a reference to the idea of this thing being on your bucket list.
Yeah.
So this is one of those Dave's deep thought moments. So I apologize in advance, but I'm just curious. Yeah. So I have some things on my bucket list too, but I am scared to start checking things off my bucket list because then I worry, what will I do next? But I had this epiphany today that I think that some items on my bucket list I probably put there incorrectly. So here's the thought process.
Okay.
So I am big into New Year's resolutions and goals. I have all kinds of goals for my life. When I was a classroom teacher, I had all kinds of goals that I was trying to hit every year. As a school principal, I would develop yearly school improvement goals, whatever. But they were isolated goals. And I often lost sight of the bigger vision. Sure. So I lost sight of let me just use my own personal example. I have a vision for who I want to be in my life. And I think it's important that my goals align with who I want to be. So the goals can be like little checkpoints along the way, not like a stopping point, not something that's completely in isolation from who I want to be. Right. I don't want to have a goal of I want to drop 10 pounds if one of my visions isn't to be healthy. I mean, because after 10 pounds, then now what? Now I go back to eating a pint of ice cream every night. I've hit the goal. Now what? I knew that today you had this bucket list item, and I had lots of questions going around in my head, honestly thinking, ooh, is that something that I would want to do? Would I want to do it simply because I heard that Rae was doing it and I think it sounds so cool? Or is it really something that aligns with who I want to be?
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you, Rae, why was this on your bucket list?
So we're doing real talk tonight for our live, right? This is what happens. You go live
Sorry.
and you ask me questions and I'm like, oh my God, that was a legit question. Should I make up an answer or do I tell like a real thing? Full transparency, a part of my talk today, not only about the importance and value that educators bring, was also about my journey in education, my journey getting to be in education. And for those, a lot of who've read my books, I mean, you know that I was in special ed. I had an IEP, I'm SLD in reading, writing, and math, and I really struggled. And that was a big part of kind of what I was sharing today. And I realized, and I this is going to come out wrong, so level with me, Dave, like you can roll your eyes. I think this was the last thing on my bucket list ever. And I realized that my bucket list was created because I didn't think I was going to be able to do anything that I've been able to do. Like on my bucket list was get my master's. And that was on my bucket list because I wasn't supposed to go to college. And like on my bucket list was like to live on my own because I like didn't think that I was. And like on my bucket list was to do a TED Talk because I never thought I could. And so I think the difference is that when people are creating their bucket lists, it should be aligned to where you want to be and what you see for yourself. I loved what you were sharing in that capacity, but for me, it was almost like this, hey, you're never going to do it. And it was almost this like disgusting reminder of like, you can't actually achieve anything on this list. And now that I really legitimately don't know what else I would want now that I've done it, I'm kind of like, there's a sense of freedom and strange reflection going on in my mind, I guess.
Wow. That's powerful. Absolutely powerful. It's like I don't want to say you've become who you always wanted to be or the person you never thought you could be, but you're there. You are, I think to everybody that's watching this right now, they see this version of you that I know in the back of your head, you question like, but if they really knew this about me, would they still think that? And now it's almost like, you've got it. And you've got that swagger internally that you deserve. I love that. That is so good.
I just think but there is a disgusting nature of it, right? Like, so I have a tattoo that says quixotic. And the reason I love the word quixotic is because it describes somebody who's overly hopeful, overly idealistic with a negative connotation, like someone who's like foolish. And I kind of feel like that same remnants in this same bucket list concept of like, wow, Rae, you had such little confidence in yourself that you put things on your bucket list that you got done before you were 30. You thought that low of yourself that you couldn't achieve any of these things. And yet like you did. Like, I just think it's funny now where I'm like everybody listening, like you need to think more highly of yourself. I need to as well. But I was like, the things that you set for yourself should be things that you legitimately think you can do. Not only the things that you're like, well, I could never do this. I'm going to I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I just need to do more reflection on it. But there's almost a like uncomfortability with the whole thing too, where I'm like, really? You grew up so confident you could never do this? You did. See, you need to have more faith in the process. I don't know. Does that make sense? It
totally makes sense. Yeah. It totally makes sense. I think that is so, so powerful. And I'm just looking at some of the comments as they're popping up here. And what you're saying is resonating with other people. I mean, and I'm hearing you and I'm like, yes. And I'm 43 and I'm hearing the same thing. Like there's so many things that I wish I could have, should have put on some sort of list 20 years ago to try to work towards, but I was too scared to, or whatever the case may be. I absolutely love that. I love it.
I also find it interesting, and I know that we weren't intending to talk about this. I know we have way other things that I want to talk about, but the other thing I was reflecting on is that I think on my bucket list before today was all accomplishments I wanted to hit. Walking the stage for your master's degree, like doing a TED Talk. And I think my future bucket list needs to be more along the lines of like what impact do you want to make? Like, don't just do a TED Talk because you want to do a TED Talk. Like, oh, maybe you should because it was really stupid cool, just so you guys know. But like, that's really not why. Like, my why for the TED Talk that I just gave, which by the way was maybe my favorite 12 minutes I've ever spent my entire life. Like, it was because it was our story. And I'm looking at all of you, like, it was the Teach Better impact that I got to talk about. And so the standing on the red dot was super flippin' cool. But the reason the experience was fun is because I got to talk about all of you guys. And that's what I realized needs to be on my bucket list. Like, I don't know. It was super interesting.
It totally felt like a shared moment. I mean, it did. Even though, we weren't there, there are so many of us that are dying to tune in a couple of weeks and watch it. There were so many of us that were cheering you on today. And I truly feel like we were part of this moment with you where, you got to stand on the red dot. Yeah, the spotlight was on you. Yes, multiple cameras on you, filming your every word, and even along the journey of getting there. But it's not over. It's really not over. It is the beginning of this new confidence that you have in yourself. It was a defining moment is what it was. So
it was so very
good.
interesting. And I do have to say, like, Megan Wells, you should know that like the whole team was cheering me on in our like private, like we use Basecamp to talk as a team. And like the entire thing was full of green hearts. Like that was the thing we did today. So Megan Wells, you've been with us the whole day. And little things like I hope you guys tune in for the streaming of it. It's on February 13th. It's free registration. So I hope you guys choose to listen to this message. But there's little nuggets in there that I'm like, I gotta like be with my Teach Better team. Like I use like marker caps in an activity. And, I intentionally picked green ones, being like, because my people, we are green heart people, right? Like little things like that where it's like, all right, bring in the family along with you. So just I hope as you guys are building your bucket list, like it's less about the things that you're doing and so much more about the impact of the result. And that's how I need to start building my bucket list. So I hope you guys join me in the fun.
So good.
Yeah. So anywho, after all of those shenanigans, if you guys have questions, let us know. But I do want to get to what today is supposed to all be about, Dave, which is recapping the incredible conversations that happen every single Tuesday, twice on Tuesdays. So there's been 4 masterminds since our last time we were live together for our biweekly family check-in. But also if you guys have any questions that you want us to help you problem solve through, like Dave and I would love to just ensure that you're starting your week off strong. So Dave, how was Mastermind over the past 2 weeks? Any common themes you've been seeing?
Yeah, well, actually, I want to clarify something. Yeah, there have been 4 face-to-face meetings, but I would say there's probably been about 400 meetings that have taken place because the conversations are so transcend just the Tuesdays. The Voxer group, the one-on-one conversations, the small groups, and that is what is so stinking incredible. It's like when we meet face-to-face, it's like this family reunion where we can just connect and laugh and joke and talk about what's on our heart. And then when people hear that, they then continue to reach out between the Tuesdays. And I absolutely love that. So tons and tons and tons of conversations been taking place. And ironically, one of the conversations kind of centers around what we just talked about, not TED Talk per se, but more that idea of your why. And I don't mean your why like in the way that it's kind of just thrown around, like you got to remember your why and all that, but really asking why before you do anything, not just because it's always been done, but why? Why are you doing what you're doing? As we came back at the start of the new year, there was lots of anxiety about schools transitioning back to face-to-face, and teachers that might have been nervous, administrators that might have been nervous, wondering what the expectations should be. How high should we raise the bar? How low should we lower the bar? And I just, the conversations every single time when somebody would say, here's what I'm going to try, or here's what I'm thinking, administrators pushing back and saying, why? Like, what is the ultimate goal for this? Is it just because that's what people are used to?
Right.
Or is it to truly move the ball forward and forward towards what end? I think about like your classroom, for example. I know you've got a student teacher that's taken over this week, and I'm sure that's bringing some anxiety on her end. But your math class is a special place because kids get to experience the real world in the classroom because you've identified why is math important. Math is not just important to get some sort of proficiency score or certain percentage of your kids to pass a test. It's because you want kids to succeed in life. And we have a lot of administrators right now questioning why they do a lot of things in their school. Is it just because that's what school looks like, or is it really to set the stage for life? And one of the, I hate to say, one of the things we're taking advantage of in this pandemic, but we are able to critically examine a lot of things that we've always done to figure out why and whether or not we need to keep doing it.
Wow, this concept of why is something I think we could dive into for hours. I do have so many follow-up questions, but really quick, Mel is watching over on YouTube and wanted to better understand what the mastermind was. Can you give us just the really quick overview? Because if Mel wants to participate, I want to make sure she knows where to go to participate in future sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, Mastermind is amazing because it's not just me hanging out here in Michigan and a couple people in Illinois chatting. It has truly become this international phenomenon where in recent weeks, we've had people from Guatemala, Australia, Canada, the US, Nepal, all over the place joining us, like literally internationally. We meet twice on Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Eastern real time and 7 p.m. Eastern or real time. And you can sign up to come to both, either or. Once you sign up at teachbetter.com/mastermind, you get a friendly reminder email. You actually get 2 reminder emails from me right before each of the scheduled times. One that says, hey, we're starting in an hour. And I send another one out literally 5 minutes before we start, just to remind you that we're starting. And within that, you'll get a Zoom link and you'll just hang out with 30, 40, 50 of the most amazing educators from around the world, where if you've got a question, you're struggling with something, you put it on the table, and in small groups, people will help you brainstorm and find solutions to your problems. It is absolutely incredible.
I really think there's something special about the mastermind. If you consider yourself a leader in a school building, you are somebody who should be participating. So if you're thinking back and you're like, oh, I'm not sure, is this a good fit for me? Every single time is different. There are people coming and rotating out and inviting their friends constantly. So your first time there isn't like you're walking into a room and everybody knows each other and you're the oddball out. Like everybody gets to introduce themselves and get started. The breakout rooms have such incredible conversation. And I just think it's amazing to have leaders from around the world come together and support one another, because it does create that family. The Voxer group is insane. So that group, they're insane. But anyway, I love that, Mel, you asked that question. If any of you are listening right now and you consider yourself a leader in education, go check that out over at teachbetter.com/mastermind. I do want to go back to this concept of why, because Liv jumped in here and said, Dave, this is why I chose why as my one word for 2021. I've been seeing a lot of that happening, which you said, because of the strange year we've been having, the opportunity for reflection in every capacity of school has really been turned upside down. And people are really asking this question. Was there anything that people like held on to and like the masses seem to agree with, or did you have kind of all different opinions as you were discussing the why?
Yeah, here was an interesting one, and it's a small example, but it led to a much larger conversation. So there was a person that we ended up having a conversation right after our morning meeting last week, and their mind was spinning on this question about why are they doing certain things, and their question was they're a high school administrator. And their students are going back 2 days a week starting this week. And the administrator was talking about how their high schoolers, they have to start catching the bus at 6:30 in the morning. And how it's going to be a wake-up call for all of these high schoolers that have been so used to starting school at 9 or 10 o'clock or whenever they wake up, because so much stuff has been done asynchronously. And somebody in the small group said, well, why do they have to start that early? And the administrator paused for a second and said, I don't know. It's just what we've always done. I think it's because of athletics. I think we have to start our high schools early so that they can play sports after school. And then the other administrator that was pushing back has said, well, I'm in Florida. In Florida, our elementary start early and our high school start later, and we're a big athletics state. So I don't understand. And it just led to this amazing conversation about, do we really need to do simple things like that because it's what we've always done? Sure. Or can we sit back and reflect on, is this really better for our kids or not? So it was a great question.
Well, and it's interesting. I think there's so many different why questions that you as a viewer, you as a listener, you as a member of the Teach Better team could be asking based off of what you do in education, right? So we're talking right now about the Admin Mastermind that happens twice a week on Tuesdays. And so a lot of that thinking will be at like a, leadership administrative level. You can discuss why school starts at a certain time, why certain logistics exist in a building, and all those things in between. Whereas as a classroom teacher, I mean, I teach sixth grade students. And while I absolutely could be a part of the committee that might evaluate and discuss the start time of a school, there's also a lot of things that I have immediate control over that I can be asking myself about. Like, why is it valuable to do some of my work with students asynchronously versus, synchronously? What value, like, why should I communicate with parents on a Monday morning rather than communicating with them on a Wednesday? Like, there are so many things as a teacher that I can be reflecting on. And so I think this concept of why is something every educator can dive into right now.
Yeah, and it goes back to recognizing the power you have. We say all the time that the educator, the teacher, is the most powerful influence, bar none. Absolutely. I agree with that. The teacher is more powerful than any curriculum or any textbook or any standards. The teacher matters more than anything. But if that's the case, then we have to embrace our power to make the decisions that matter most. So question everything, not in a mean, aggressive way when I say question things, but question your own intentions, question your own moves, question the things that you are in control over. Like you just said, question, why do I give a test every Friday? I don't know. Why do I have the kids answer 20 questions? Why not 10? Why do I turn the lights on and not off? I mean, every single thing you can question, why do I do this? And make the decisions that matter most.
It's interesting, Dave. I've been doing this a lot, especially because I had a student teacher in the fall, and I have a different student teacher that is working with me in the spring. So as people have, continued to reflect, and I actually had one when we all shut down last spring during, in March. So it's comical that actually throughout this process, I'm not only doing a lot of reflection, but I'm actually facilitating that same reflection with future educators that are coming to me, for their student teaching. And the one that I'm working with specifically right now is from Illinois State University, and she's an all-star. Like this girl, I mean, I know I said that about my other student teacher, and she was great, but like I get great ones because, or there's something in the water because like Nicole Miller, who is looking for a job in the Chicagoland area, by the by, is incredible to the extent that even we were a week or two in and she was already doing things in the classroom. She was already a leader. And then this week she's taking over full-time, all classes, all students, all curriculum, everything. And it's interesting because I've been challenging her. Don't choose to teach like me because you're in my classroom seeing me do it. I want you to see what I'm doing. Ask yourself why I'm doing it that way. And if you're not sure, ask me a question. But once you know my why behind doing something, you need to make the decision if you carry that same mindset. And then you should feel confident enough to change it if you think I'm wrong, or facilitate a discussion around it if you don't agree with me. And it's been so interesting because I've watched her keep things and change things. And there's so much reflection for me as the cooperating teacher to say, well, hold on. If she's changing stuff, do I agree with the changes she's made? Do I have more information than she does? Or is she changing something that I should have thought about changing 2 years ago? It's like really interesting.
If I had the power, and I guess I do right here, to revise Bloom's taxonomy, I would add an extra little thing above it for reflection. Bloom's taxonomy, you've got evaluate and then create is sort of like the pinnacle. But it's one thing to evaluate the work of somebody else and to critique it, to judge it. It's something else to make something original. But it's a whole nother level to make something original and then sit back and evaluate what you just made. And I think it is so hard for so many people to reflect on something that they've just made. And I truly believe that is what separates great teachers from good teachers, is this ability to reflect. Good teachers are very good at defending what they do. Sure. Great teachers are so good at reflecting on what they do. And once you understand the difference between defending your craft and reflecting on your craft, you make this whole big leap towards getting better. Green heart. But that is honestly the goal. Reflection makes you better.
No, and you're 1,000,000% correct. I was actually so I had a really challenging parent meeting recently that my student teacher sat in on. And it was challenging simply because the parent was disappointed. And that's never something you want as a teacher. And while I really do believe that the reason they were disappointed was something that was out of my control, I really, really, really wanted us, the parent and I, to get on the same page in terms of understanding that we both want nothing but incredible success for their student. And so the meeting ended, and my student teacher was sitting in on it, and she sits back and she's like, "Whoa, that was an intense meeting." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was not my favorite, right?" I was reflecting on it. I could have done better. I went through with her. I'm like, I really should have handled this differently. I should have probably not interrupted them in this situation, which is why I paused. And then she's like, "Was it really hard to have a parent criticizing or asking questions about XYZ, a part of my classroom?" And I think that you just hit the nail on the head of why it's not hard to have parents question, even have other teachers question, is because I'm not walking in trying to defend my stance. I'm not bringing all the textbooks being like, "I'm ready. I can tell you what page this is on. I'm going to defend my stance." But I've done so much reflection on why choices are made and how they're made and how we can adapt and bring so many voices into the conversation that at that point, I'm sharing. I'm not defending, but you've reflected enough where that idea of defending simply becomes sharing your reflection with the other person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I completely recognize that. And I think it's a good reflective activity. This can be so ironic, but I think it's a good reflective activity to go through your week and just think, in each moment, am I defending or am I reflecting? So when I'm in a team meeting and people are asking questions about what you do you defend or do you reflect? When you're at a staff meeting or a parent meeting, defend or reflect? If you're somebody that's experimenting or piloting the grid method and somebody questions it, do you defend it or do you reflect? Same thing with mastery-based grading or whatever, defend or reflect, because there's always room to make things better. So are you willing to listen to other people's perceptions so that you can accept that growth?
Well, and that was the other thing she asked. One of the parents asked me a question or made a statement, and my response was, "I really appreciate that feedback. I promise you from the bottom of my heart, I will reflect on that." And my student teacher was like, "Is that really a good response? Like, shouldn't you have just told them yes or no or defended what you were doing?" And I was like, "No, they had a good point that they want to make sure they were heard. And the reality is they were. I valued them bringing the information. And it doesn't mean I'm going to change anything, but I think it's important that after any sort of interaction, whether it be with a student, a parent, a leader, a colleague, you're reflecting on your practice. Maybe there's always value in being able to, whether you decide, oh, I'm reflecting, so something needs to change, or, oh, I'm reflecting and no, I'm good with the choices I'm making. That's important for all of us to consider.
No, absolutely. There are times when you look in the mirror and you're like, I like what I see. There are other times when you say, maybe I could lose a little. Reflection is honest. You're not going into a carnival here with a house of mirrors, and you have to have honest reflection. And that means being true and open and honest with yourself. But also know that sometimes your reflection is deceiving. Sometimes you can look at through your own lens, and sometimes you do need to walk downstairs and ask somebody else, do you like what you see? Because I just looked in the mirror and I thought this looked fine, but somebody else might say, I'm not a fan of that. And you need to own that as well, that it's their reflection, their perception, and then you process both lenses together and come up with a decision.
Yeah, that was a comment by Mel. She says that she really loves collaborative reflection. I couldn't agree more. Dave, do you have specific people that you reflect with for specific situations? And if so, why would that be?
Yes, and yes. I do. And so here's a prime example. So for example, yesterday, you and I were part of a conversation with some other people. And what was so amazing about that conversation is on my calendar, I had it set aside for about an hour. 2.5 hours later, we were still talking. And why were we still talking? Because we weren't all agreeing. And I loved that, because I have now spent the last 36 hours reflecting. And you know this because you keep getting messages from me.
I know.
I'm thinking about this now, and I'm thinking about this now. I went into the meeting with a thought, and now I've got 1,000 more thoughts. And I love that. If I can leave a conversation with more questions than I had going in, it was an amazing conversation.
Can I just preface, while you begin to continue with your answer, Dave and I are not condoning planning a meeting for an hour and having it going 2.5 hours. That's not what we're saying. But it was, I mean, truly, we had a group of our team together discussing an important topic. And because we didn't agree, it went on forever. And I don't actually think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that we ended necessarily all agreeing. I mean,
Nope.
I think there's so much discussion that we're like, we're going to have to talk about this again in the future very soon. When's everyone available?
Yeah. And honestly, and that is what reflection should do. Reflection should lead to constant growth and constant improvement. It's sort of like the conversation about the bucket list. You shouldn't go into a reflection conversation just to get validation. If you're seeking validation, you are going about it the complete wrong way. I think somebody said to me the other day, and it's a similar line of thought, if my healing requires your validation, I'm not ready to share. And it's the same thing here with reflection. If I'm sharing just to hear you confirm and validate what I've said, I should have just kept my mouth shut. So I reflect with people that I know will push back and question.
I think that's really valuable. I reflect with people that I know will push back and challenge. That's true. And depending on the topic, that person might look different.
Absolutely.
For example, like, I'm sure you have people in our Teach Better family that reach out to you for specific ideas that you not only are seen as an expert on, but also somebody who will question the status quo. So there are specific things that people go to you for, or they might go to their best friend or their spouse to reflect on something else because maybe they carry a different lens, have different background knowledge. I think that's healthy. I think if you reflect on the same person every time, you're kind of fostering a tunnel vision view, you know?
Yeah. And one of the healthiest things that I have to go through all the time is asking myself, am I the best person to be answering this question for this person? I think if you can set yourself aside at times and say, ooh, this is not my area of expertise. There is somebody out there that is better at this. That is so healthy. I think so often as educators, we fall for the trap that we're supposed to have all the answers to all the things. But it's okay at times to say, ooh, I don't have a clue. Or there is somebody that can do this better. Let me point you in that direction. And I want to come back and circle back and find out what you learned from that person. That is totally healthy and totally appropriate.
And it's interesting, Dave. I think the another layer to that is if you're answering by carrying a bias. I just had a conversation with a friend that was asking me an opinion, and I tried really hard to give my thoughts. But then my follow-up was, but you should understand this is the bias I carry. Therefore, my answer, while I really tried, my answer does carry this caveat of a bias that exists. So you should go connect with somebody else. And maybe you can even go as far as connecting them with somebody that they can do some reflection with. I think that's kind of the beauty of how large the Teach Better family is, that if we're not the right people, we'd love to introduce you to some people that would support you, but also kind of like naming why you may not be the best reflection partner is important. I mean, Dave, this week alone, I don't know how much our network really cares about this, but like I was MIA this week, like MIA. I was operating at full capacity, guys. My stress level was like overflowing. And so people would come to me with questions or things that they needed. And it took a lot for me because it was very uncomfortable. But there was a lot of me being like, I can't do this. I can't process what you need me to be able to process to give you the support that you need. And then it was like, you have to go to somebody else. Like, here's 5 other people who would be able to support you, you know, or can we talk about this in 2 weeks where I really feel like I have the headspace to process your thinking. But being a reflective partner with somebody is extremely important. And you need to ensure that you have the ability to be as strong as possible in that conversation. And
find somebody who truly does have that strength that you're looking for. I mean, it is so easy to go out and find people that don't have the strengths that you have, to go out and be that person that's looking for weaknesses in people. That's easy. But if you're on a hunt, if you truly were to go through your PLN, however big it is, and start to look for the people that you think have strengths and skills in some certain capacity, A, it's going to change the way that you look at people. And B, it's going to allow you to start having more trust in people because now you're recognizing their strengths. And this is a great leadership lesson for people too. Leaders, administrators, if you go down your halls every single day looking for things to fix, you're going to find a lot of things to fix. If you go down your halls looking to ways to make teachers better, you'll find thousands of things that you can suggest. If you go down the halls and find things that your teachers are doing that are absolutely amazing, oh my gosh, you're just going to plant yourself in classroom after classroom after classroom and never want to leave, because there are people doing some amazing things. So start looking for the strengths in people instead of looking for ways to try to improve them.
Well, and it's interesting, Dave. I mean, then once you know those strengths, you can connect people more effectively.
That's it.
If you only know that classroom A and classroom B are struggling with classroom management, and you are unaware that classroom C has outstanding classroom management, and that's an area of strength, then you're just going to focus on like, what can I do with A and B? I don't know. They're not good next to each other because they can't share ideas. You're missing the solution element that comes with understanding people's abilities. And so I think that it's more fun to focus on positives, because then you can more easily connect people, because people will come to you when they're eager to learn. But when they come to you, will you know what to do with it?
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
That's it. Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth. Mm-hmm. I like what Liv just said. Seek and you shall find. Whatever it is you're looking for, you will find. It's the truth.
So Dave, obviously the discussions in Admin Mastermind continue to be outstanding. I mean, every time you share photos of Admin Mastermind or like new connections, I'm jealous. I can't always attend them, but I do want you guys to know, if you're thinking about going, I mean, this is a fluid group. So if you pop in 1 week and can't pop in for 2 weeks following, just stay on the list and, you can pop in when you want to. But we're also here to answer questions. If anybody is here and they want to continue to ask their own questions that Dave and I may not even think to bring up right now, please post them in the comments. Dave, do you have any sort of prediction of any themes that might be coming up over the next few weeks that Admin Mastermind will be discussing? Because I know that there's no preparation for this. Like, people ask questions by simply what's on top of mind, what's going on in the world, what's going on in our communities, what's going on with the school year. And so it's not like they're popping in and it's like Dave Schmittou bestowing information to the masses. Like, this is truly, everyone says hi and then they're like, anybody got a problem or a dilemma that we want to discuss? Kind of like here, anybody got a question? So are you like foreseeing a potential conversation, maybe because of the groups?
Yeah, and that's what's pretty cool about it, is you become this fortune teller because you can see the trends in the conversations. And there's one conversation that has come up literally every single week that I've been involved now for 5-6 months. The same question has come up every single time in some capacity. I'll get to that in a second. Oh, I will. But right now, there's also questions brewing about testing and accountability, and how much emphasis they should be putting on that. Should they be trying to stress out their teachers? Do they continue to do the drill and kill and all that? And Rae, when you say that it's not just me sitting back and talking, I can't tell you how hard it is at times for me to just bite my tongue on some of these conversations. But that's where the power is. You're right. People don't come to hear me speak. So I just sit back and let the conversations go. And there's so much more wisdom there than me. Mm-hmm. But the thing that comes up every single week from somebody in some lens is the concept that we are all middle managers, no matter our role. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a superintendent, a principal, an assistant principal, a teacher, you always have somebody to answer to and somebody that you're answering for. And how do you navigate it when the people above or the people below don't see eye to eye and you're kind of stuck in the middle? And it could be about transitioning to school. It can be about teacher safety and health. It could be about assessment. It could be whatever. Mm-hmm. It's really the question of, when do you speak up? When do you shut your mouth? When do you advocate? When do you support? And it's powerful. And I love those conversations because I know it's something we all wrestle with as teachers. We've had this conversation. I think we had this conversation last time we were together.
Yeah.
You wrestle with it when administration might not see things the same way that students see things or parents see things differently. And it's a difficult conversation, but it's one that we have all the time.
It's really interesting to hear that, because it's not only something that's coming up once, but coming up consistently, which means that it really is a problem that we're continuously reflecting on. And I think if you're listening right now and you're like, gosh, I've totally felt that way, or I'm not sure, this is a group to bring those dilemmas to, because people really are eager to share. That's what I actually love about the Teach Better team, is our commitment to simply sharing. Yeah. Not for any other reason than in hopes to maybe help someone. Like, that's what it is, right? I mean, even, we're talking about being live right now, or the TED Talk that I was able to film earlier today, or anything the team does. It's not for any other reason, but if one person is able to step away and say, I think I'm a little bit better because of that situation, or because of that message, or because of that energy, or because of the brain break that I just took because I needed to relax. Like, that's literally why we do what we do. And I think it's wonderful that people are bringing tough concepts, tough ideas to this conversation, because it has to be something that then you get a little bit of closure, because at least you're not alone,
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what it is. And that, I think that's the essence behind that question as well, is how do you not feel alone? Like, who do you go to in a time like that, when the people above are saying things that you don't really agree with, and yet you have to deliver a message to those below? And again, I hate using those terms, but I think it sends the picture. You can't necessarily just be honest with either one of those, or can you, or should you? So you put yourself in this bubble and you just feel like you're trapped and you don't have anywhere else to go. And that's the beautiful thing about the mastermind group, is it becomes this sanctuary, it's this safe place for other people that are fighting the same battles to sit around a circle and say, hi, my name is Dave, and here's my problem. We can truly just be open and honest and share and grow. And that's why people come back every single week. And that's why people invite others to come sit next to me at this meeting, and we're going to do this together. It continues to grow because people need people, and people want to help people. Bottom line.
Totally true. People need people. And I think that's the best thing that I continue just to reflect on in my own life, is like, I need to be around the right people. Doing great things is easier and feels better when you're doing it with the right people around you. And so I know that there's a lot of people that hopefully get value from educational things that we're able to do, like blogs and podcasts and trainings and blah, 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 blah. But for me, so much of this just comes down to that root of good people doing good things makes us better.
That's it.
So it's super fun.
So can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I'm thinking about the week ahead for you. So when I was a classroom teacher, I had a couple of student teachers that worked with me. But I can only imagine, just because of your track record, you are way more successful with grooming student teachers than I ever was. What does it look like for you when you have a student teacher? Do you just grab a book and some podcasts and go sit in the staff lounge and hang, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm off now for the rest of the year?
Definitely not. No, it's so funny, Dave. Actually, if we could talk shop real quick, because it's been really challenging having a student teacher, because I learned when I was a student teacher, I had the most amazing cooperating teacher. Jill Burrows is I love her, my favorite mentor that I've had. And her like approach to student teaching was throw them into the deep end and walk away and let them figure it out. And I hated her for it. It was the worst year. It was so hard. She let me fail, and it stunk to not be successful all the time. And then at the end, I was like, oh, I learned more from you than anyone, because you didn't give me the answer. And so I now have nothing but incredible respect for her. And so I kind of loved that approach, because I really think that we should jump in feet first with our student teachers. You've been in school, you've studied your butt off. Now it's your junior, senior year. Let's see what you got. And really then my job is to facilitate reflection above anything else. And as long as you're not hurting students, you need to try. My thing I say to them all the time is, you need to make every mistake here, because in your first year teaching, you're going to feel alone. And unless you pick up the phone and call me, you may not be doing the same reflection as you could be doing. So try everything, make every mistake here, because you know that even if it feels like you're failing, I'd never let you fail enough where you're harming students, which is every teacher's worst nightmare. You're going to mess up kids. And so I'm try every activity, every, experience possible, because if it doesn't work and it's a flop, oh, well, tomorrow can be a redo day and we'll figure it out. And we'll fix it. No big deal. I'm here to help you fix it. But that's been hard with virtual learning, because when you have students on a Google Meet link, it's different than them being physically in the classroom. And we have both right now. So I've been doing a lot of modeling, which has been great. And then a lot of my job is really just reflecting. So there's a big moment. There's a big difference between you teaching as a student teacher with the cooperating teacher in the classroom and without the cooperating teacher in the classroom. So what I've been doing is I've been heading out into the hallway where I'm still accessible, and I have to be logged onto the Google Meet link because there's some legality elements there. And my answer to her is like, I'm out of sight, out of mind. You run the class, but if something gets lit on fire or something happens on the Google Meet, I got your back. So she's been doing wonderfully, like insanely wonderfully with the students.
It's amazing. There's also, I'm sure there's people that are watching this that might have co-teachers that they work with. Maybe not a student teacher, but a co-teacher.
I do it,
What you just illustrated is so powerful. How does that reflection process work with you guys then? So she takes over the class. She's running the class. What happens at the end of the day or the end of the week?
Sure. So we have a beautiful schedule where she's able to teach first hour, and then we have a break where we can reflect. So we tweak first hour and, like apply to the end of the day. And then we have a few breaks throughout the day where we do the same thing. So she doesn't teach the same lesson all day long. I teach 2 different courses. I have 6 classes total. So she does get the opportunity to reflect a little, but really what I like to evaluate is first hour, you're teaching something different than 6th hour because they're different classes. But can you apply what you learned and reflected on in first hour to your 6th hour class? Like, is there not only ability to reflect in the small nature of a mini lesson, but can you actually apply it then to a situation that's different, but can still benefit from that reflection? That's kind of the game I'm playing this coming week that I can't wait to see. But my cooperating teacher is an incredible educator. I'm sorry, my co-teacher is an incredible educator. So they're doing really good work together during those class hours when they're working as well.
That's amazing. That's
so
amazing.
Fun. Yeah. It's not always easy, but it happens. I haven't read this, but Kylie posted a message that people are responding to right now. It says, I need to make this week work this week, able to mastermind. I'm currently in a situation where I'm in the middle. Okay, so she's kind of reflecting on that leadership element. And Esther responded that it sounds lonely, and she's responding that it's a tough week. Any suggestions here, Dave?
Kylie, shoot me a message. I'm going to reach out to you as soon as this is done. We're going to get you plugged in with our mastermind group. Even if you can't come on Tuesdays, we're going to get you linked up with other people that can continue to connect with you and grow with you. So don't ever let, my schedule is too busy on a Tuesday, stop you from finding support. And that's something that we are truly, truly focused on. I say it every week. The power is between the Tuesdays. It's, the old saying about on a tombstone, how'd you live your dash? For us, the dash is between the Tuesdays. So we will connect with you between the Tuesdays. If you can make it, outstanding. Love to have you there. But if not, we're going to connect with you. We're going to be brainstorm partners with you. I'm willing to listen and just have you vent, cry, yell, scream, whatever. Or if you've got questions, I can point you in the right direction to get you the answers.
I love it. Dave, we're coming up on an hour together being live. I always enjoy our conversations, but I'm so excited that we get to do this every other Sunday. Not only to talk about the Admin Mastermind, which is something that, hey, if you're not a part of, you can join. Or I saw a lot of people being like, I don't really fit in this group. No stress, guys. There's still so many learning opportunities. That's why we do this recap. Just because you're not a part of the conversation doesn't mean we all can't reflect and learn from this conversation. In addition to hopefully creating a safe space for you guys to ask questions. Anything exciting this week going on, Dave, that we want to celebrate at all?
I've got a busy week. I can tell you that.
Tell me
I
more.
get to talk to some of my rock star hero people. So I'm going to mention some names, whether you know them or not. I'm cool, but they're whatever. So last week on Thursday, I got to talk to Ted Dintersmith, who's one of my edu heroes. Yeah. And then Tuesday of this week, I'm hanging out with Tony Wagner for an hour. I get to hang out with Todd Whitaker for an hour this week. I get to just hang out with some absolutely incredible people. And then I get to end the week speaking at the ASCD virtual conference that they're holding at the end of the week. So a busy week, but super, super exciting.
That is so exciting. And then Dave, I love that you mentioned these huge things, and your schedule is so busy that you just skated over all the other things I know you're doing this week that you probably just do every week, like Brain Break, Mastery Chat, all the 2 masterminds we literally talked about that will happen Tuesday. You have a busy week ahead. How are you feeling about all that?
It's all about having that vision. All of these things help me become the person I want to be. So I'm just trying my best to surround myself by people that are smarter and better than me so I can take those baby steps to be like them.
I love it. That's so cool. Yes, I am playing catch up this coming week as my student teacher takes over. We'll be doing a lot of reflection and tweaking. We just had parent-teacher conferences, so I need to follow up with a few families and get to have some meetings with parents this week who weren't able to join last week, and busy. But for those of you who are listening and you are a part of the Teach Better family, don't forget, we also have Mastery Chat on Thursday nights that always has a new host sharing new ideas. That happens at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern on Thursday nights. Dave is hosting Brain Break, probably with Jeff Gargas on Wednesday, so expect shenanigans and probably some beer. Who knows? I mean, no big deal. And there's just so much to celebrate. We have Hans Apple starting a brand new private event that's exclusive to our private Facebook group called Best Intentions, where he's going to be interviewing some incredible guests on Sundays, actually during the same time, but it's just next week, and it's only in our private group. So make sure, if you're not a part of the Teach Better Team private Facebook group, go join at teachbettergroup.com or just search it in Facebook. But you definitely want to be in that group if you want to check out those incredible conversations. And then also, Dave, in that private group this month is that fun popcorn event we're having, where it's like going to be just like a big hangout on February 19th. So I'm really excited. If you guys like games, you have to be in the group to get the link. It's just a Zoom link, but go join the group at teachbettergroup.com. You'll see all that. And then obviously I'm skipping over ambassador applications open in 2 weeks. I hope you all register for free for the TED Talk that I just did, that I filmed today, that is airing on the 13th of February. We have a little bit of a busy month.
How can the shortest month of the year have so much going on? That is so exciting.
I'm a little intimidated by the whole thing. I'm like, and I know there's more. I'm forgetting.
Oh, that's awesome. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for real.
It's going to be so fun. For all of you that joined us, thank you for being here. Even if you didn't join us live and you're watching this after the fact, we are truly here to kind of just be here to answer questions and support you. So if you ever need anything, please let us know. Dave, what is your final piece of advice for the world on this Sunday night?
Are you asking me for my mic drop moment, Ray? Is that what you're doing?
Mic drop moment. Good luck. Go ahead.
It's going to be an inside joke for those people that are saying hashtag Team Moose. I agree. Hashtag Team Moose. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and check the brain break from this last week when we had Mandy Freilich on. Introduced us to an amazing new game, Team Moose for the win. There you go.
Bye, guys. We love you. See you later.